All right, here we go again. So I guess the proper term would have been $8 trillion in tariff motivated investment or tariff dealed investment. It's not tariff revenue. It isn't even revenue of any source at this point. Well, how are you going to track and police these investments? I mean, Trump has used some creative techniques in building buildings and things, and the others are just as creative. Right. Tell you anything. Doesn't mean it doesn't mean they're gonna pay. Right. Correct. How are you going to make sure China does what you say they're going to do? Where's your metric? When is the investment? The investment isn't now. I mean, it's not invested yet. Did they start construction or anything? Again, if I were a spy in China, I'd play Trump this way because essentially that investment, who knows when it comes? The tariffs are there, right? They're charging the American public, causing inflation, right? And your payback won't be. This is what I told you about tariffs and all that stuff. You can't just do it because the payback takes so long. But maybe not. Maybe you'll be able to do something. Well, you're in the same thing as Biden, and that's it. I mean, Biden did the same thing with infrastructure, right? But the problem with what you're all doing is you're saying there's no inflation, which means we don't get pay increases. At least under Biden, we were getting pay increases. Now it drove up the deficit a little bit for government employees and government, retirees receiving that. Right. But if you're going to lie about inflation, and again, inflation is a funny thing because a lot of things that the tariffs affect aren't those items tracked. Right. So the stuff for sale on Amazon isn't going to be necessarily tracked. Right. Of course, you'll call it luxury, and we don't need it when you have, something that's a million times better and a million times more expensive. Right. So that's another thing. Is what I'm speaking is the truth, and what I'm speaking is how the people are beginning to feel. Let be how they're going to feel. So this is a seeing skill and art. Right. Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know if it was a targeted to screw me personally, and they don't care if they screw other people. But like I said, stock coffee, I believe. Actually, it may have been $5.50. So it say 50 cents on $6. That's a sizable inflation, right, on one item. Actually, it's 50 cents on like five. It may have been $5.50. I thought it was $4.99 some places, but it's definitely up, and people definitely don't have the money to pay it because once it goes on sale, it goes out of stock. They bump it down to $4.99, and it goes crazy, right? But it's only the one variety, the one I buy, so it could be the deep state causing it. Well, then you need to stop the deep state in Kansas City metropolitan area. Let be any other place I live. Right. Because I'm not the only one they're doing this to. I don't care if they're Republican and they paid you $1 million. I don't give a shit. That's the point. Right. Yeah, the curses are up. My battery went dead and all this stuff in my van. I left the light on or something. Actually, I got to go outside and turn it off. It's still running to charge the battery. Boy, I have to say the Lord's anger is kindled. He's been bugging me all morning, or he won't drop down the size of his flame. That's Hashem. I have no idea why the flame's so big. I pulled the fuse down, or not the fuse, the wick. Again, that's their will. Again, that means they're willing something like that. So that's very sick of them. They're willing some sort of IED type of thing. Right. Okay, Larry. I was sick, man. They're squirrels. They can't live without this shit happening and happening at the hands of their victims. Thank you, Larry. I forgot what's happening. Oh, she got a boyfriend? I thought she was gay. Maybe she's going the other way. Spy, maybe. Well, it's a weird world, believe me. Neighbor. Got a guy with her. Well, that could be her brother, maybe. She did have a brother. She seems like she has a close family. Right. Well, she had an older girlfriend that would show up every so often. They do the dirty deed and then, part ways for a little bit. So again, the big balls thing actually took a life of its own. I don't know if other people are thinking into it because it's an AC/DC song. So then they started thinking, dirty deeds done dirt cheap. Doge, dirty deeds done dirt cheap. Well, Doge is a scam. Come on. You used it to destroy people that investigated other people. I'm going to tell you that because you need to learn to stop that. Because the closer you get to the government flipping, the more likely they'll charge you with it if you keep doing it. If you let it go, and again, of course, you charge MacGyver, so they're ready to, if they can charge you for something, they're going to do it. Right. Give me a second. I got to turn off my van. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry. So, again, a lot of times if you clean it up in the beginning of the administration, by the time it gets to the next administration, they forgot about it. Right. So what I'm getting from Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker is this. If you want to, they understand that there's certain things that we can agree to. But there are certain things we need to agree to or it's going to get messy. And you're cursed. You just can't see. You're not going to ride the wave. Right. You're cursed to not see. You're going to be blindsided. I don't think they're trying to push, and me speaking may have pushed their buttons where they did it. They're trying to say civil law. They will not enforce, our police will not enforce civil law. I don't know if they can do that. Right. I still don't think it's viable. Right. They're going to try to say, it's not, but we all know what it is. Right. Well, I think it's, let me put it this way. I think illegal entry within whatever that distance is of the border that we used to use. I don't know, 100 miles of the border, 50 miles of the border. I think that could be a civil penalty. But anything more than that, that's infiltration of the nation, and I think it should be a felony. Right. So but this is the problem. If you keep, I don't know if the Democrats would ever agree to that, but maybe you could have gotten them to agree to it if you do something a little more bipartisan. Look, you're going to fight yourselves into a corner. Well, the inflation's here, however it's happening. Thanks, Larry. I mean, I already paid more money for some stuff like the first couple months. And I think that was deep state, but still it's happening, and I'm not the only victim. Thanks, Larry. Well, that 8 trillion is it's just fluff for now. I mean, you got these clowns meeting over in China. What are you going to do if they don't invest it? You're not going to say anything probably because you don't want to look stupid. They could be playing you. I agree. I mean, they're all meeting over there in China. You know, what's to say they do anything? Right. Except, cause inflation. Again, that's a spycraft psychological warfare tool against the United States. Right. Well, but it's not, either you're willfully ignorant or you're just ignorant. If inflation is caused, the American public is paying a tax. That's what the tariff becomes. Right. So you didn't drop anybody's taxes. You just, smoke and mirrors it away. Or not away, but into something else, and actually might be more. Right. I mean, if it's right that the average family is going to pay $2,000, I don't know if you gave them $2,000. But again, if you give them $2,000, then that's something. If we all get $2,000, it looks like you're going to go heavy with families. I'll just tell you, you're talking about $600 a person. But once the biggest cost, one person per person foots the highest bill. So a single person needs to get more money. So if you file single on your taxes, the government has to give them like two persons money, at least. Because once you buy your residence, right, or rent your residence, right. But in other words, here, let me explain to you. If I were to rent a 2-bedroom here, it's $1,300, or 1 bedroom, $1,300, something like that. If I rent a 2-bedroom, it's like $1,500. So you see, the difference is minimal. Now, of course, there's food and everything else, but you're ripping off the single person if you only give them $600, and they'll be pissed off. I agree. Utilities. Right. I pay what, I'm pretty good, I guess, kind of. I'm below average. I pay like $150 for a 1-bedroom or 120 or something, whatever, it fluctuates. Right. But a person with like a 2 or 3-bedroom doesn't pay $3,000. So you have to fix that. The person that's files single, or actually if they're a single, again, there's something you're going to miss because some people might live with other people and all that kind of thing. But if a person files as a single person, they probably should get a higher level, and then the families get a different level. So what you might want to do is not just per dependent, just kind of this for a single person, this for a family, or something like that. Well, stay peaceful, praise God in all that you do.